Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Trailhead DX. Um, a lot more excitement here. Let's see as the clicker works. So today we're going to talk about custom metadata types and how you can make your validation rules configurable and using custom metadata types. And my name is Vladimir. I'm a senior product manager here at Salesforce, and I'm super excited and thrilled to co-present today with Cheryl Feldman. And I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Feldman. My official title is Assistant Vice President of Salesforce Administration and Strategy at Allianz Global Investors. What that means is essentially I am the product owner for Salesforce for the US business. I'm also a Salesforce MVP and lead the New York City user group. So if anybody happens to be from New York City, I'd love to see you and love to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks again for joining me today on stage. It's super, super great to have you here. So today, we're going to talk about custom metadata types. So we're going to start with a brief introduction to custom metadata types. And just a question to the audience, how many of you consider themselves an admin? So almost 70, 80% of the audience. This is great. This is perfect session for you. And we're going to talk about why you admins should care about custom metadata types. And if you heard about this feature before, you might have heard about it being a developer-focused feature. So we started changing that, and this we're going to cover in the third part of our session when we're going to talk about custom metadata types and declarative tools. So pretty exciting. So anyone want to guess the next slide? Forward-looking statements, yes. Hopefully not the first time you see that slide today. Definitely not the last time. We are going to talk about some features that are not yet generally available. So if you hear something amazing today and it's not generally available, please do not make your purchasing decisions based on that. Wait until it's generally available to do so. And with that, I would like to give it back to Cheryl to give you some intro why admins should care about custom metadata types.
Great. Thank you, Vladimir. So how many of you have heard of something called a custom object? Yes, OK. How many of you are storing data in a custom object that you're using for reference? That every time you refresh a sandbox that isn't a full sandbox, you have to reload it in there to get your validation and your automation and everything else to work? Raise your hands high, because we all do it. What if I told you that there was a feature that you could use, and I use it all the time, where you can deploy, you can house that data as metadata and deploy it. And when you refresh your sandbox, it carries over. What if I told you that feature was available? That is what a custom metadata type is. So when you set it up just like a custom object, and you can have references and lookups to other objects just like you would a custom object, and you can store your metadata in there. So think about the example I like to talk about with people.
A green one.
So you have we just talked about this, your data objects and your metadata types. But the example I like to talk about is if you think about zip codes, right? How many of us are validating our city and state with zip codes, and we're maybe housing that in a custom object, and maybe you want to pre-populate things based on a zip code? You could actually house that type of data in a custom metadata type. So think about your custom objects is data that your users will interact with. Their users want to edit that data. Your metadata types is essentially your data that's stored as metadata that your systems will interact with, meaning in your validation rules, which we'll go over with. You can even use it in Flow. And even your developers, which is what my developers do for me, I'm an admin, is they build stuff with custom metadata types. So if I need to change references in Apex code or Lightning components, I can just change them in the custom metadata type, and then they update with the code without having to change the code every single time. So this slide, I think, resonates with a lot of people when I show it to a lot of people. A lot of us, how many of you are still in Classic? Me too. And I think what people forget about when you're thinking about migrating to Lightning is all the things that we have to do as admins and developers to keep our org going. It's hard to scale. It's hard to think about moving to Lightning when you have all this other work that we have to do as admins and developers. We have to maintain references and logic. We have to maintain hard-coded things. But if we start moving these things into custom metadata types and custom settings, it becomes a little bit easier to think about moving to something like Lightning. And I'm going to pass it back to Vladimir.
Oh, I have my mic. So, since the introduction of custom metadata types about 2.5 years ago, it's been a tremendous success across all developer and ISV community. And this is one of my favorite quotes, and I was hoping that Cheryl will pronounce it, so I will not get in troubles. But it's been called the Holy Freaking Grail. No one is recording.
The Holy Freaking Grail.
So, and of course, there are reasons for that. And the main reason for you guys to care as an admins, of course, there are more reasons for developers, but for you, the fact that you can migrate records of custom metadata types using change sets, using packages, either use managed or unmanaged packages, but now you can set everything up, set you up the way you want it in your sandbox. With simple change set deployment, you can migrate it into your production, and you don't need to repeat any steps in production after app being deployed. How many of you had done that? Pretty annoying, and that's why developer likes it as well. They don't want to sell apps that require post-deployment steps. So it makes it easier for you. It makes it easier for them. And now we are on a big journey here right now. We are opening up custom metadata types for admins to benefit even more. We on our path to support it in a bunch of declarative tools, and we're starting with validation rules today. And I want to point out that, as a lot of things in Salesforce, it's all started with an idea. And kudos to Jennifer. She's actually here today for submitting that idea. It's been, it doesn't look like it's a lot of points, but it's so far the most popular custom metadata type idea. And if you like it today, go to Idea Exchange and vote, because you will learn it's super cool. So the idea is about supporting records of custom metadata types, making them referenceable in stuff like validation rules, default values, formula fields, process builder, and all of those places that you guys care about. So thanks for that, and thanks for your comment and votes. It's always good to hear from you guys, from the community. So I'm sure most of you created at least one validation rules in your life. So, and you might see something like this with an opportunity product where you want to validate that a maximum discount is not greater than some value, right? You don't want your salespeople to give crazy, huge discounts right and left, right? So here, like someone is trying to give a 50% discount, and we throw a validation error saying it's too high. What you have underneath it most likely looks like this: discount greater than 25%. Well, it might be OK, but imagine now you have a company-wide policy about discounts, and you validate them on opportunity products, on orders, on a bunch of custom objects. So now you have that value hard-coded in so many places, you might not even keep track on all of the places. And your boss tomorrow comes and tells, well...
One thing I want to add, which I know we all do, how many of you get from your sales manager, OK, this group of salespeople can have a 20% discount. This group of salespeople can have a 10% discount. Oh, and by the way, Joe, the sales rep, because we like him, he can discount anything he wants. So you have this crazy-looking validation rule with managing all these different people, some with like profiles, some with roles, some with names, and some with other random stuff to identify. You can move all this stuff into custom metadata types. So when you're really referencing that, and if you're referencing that on other objects, and you have the same rules maybe on your orders or your quotes, or if you're using CPQ, you can maintain it in one place. And you don't have to go looking for it. Every time somebody's like, oh, the discount's changing. Oh, how many validation rules and things do we have referencing that one place?
Yeah, and next day, when your manager comes and tells you to update it, you just go to one place and update it for every place it referenced. So you don't have to hard code. With custom metadata types, at least, you can move all those discounts into custom metadata type as on the slide. And actually, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm going to just show you a live demo here. And wish me luck. This demo is completely live. So what I have here, this is my org, and I hope everyone can see it all right. I have opportunities here, and I have a trailhead opportunity. You all should be familiar with that. And on that opportunity, I have a product, trailhead pass. Let's take a look. So I have a discount field here as well. So let me give a discount, try to give a discount of 30%. So I get a validation rule. Now let's take a look what is underneath of that validation rule. I'm going to Object Manager here. I'm typing opportunity product. Here we are. So here's my validation rule. So right now, spoiler alert, right now it's like this. Someone didn't refresh his demo work. So right now you have a validation rule like this. So let's move it to custom metadata types, which I already done and spoiled, but it's still possible to do again. If you never use custom metadata types, you can easily find it using quick search box, type in custom metadata types. And here, just to show you, I created a discount policy object. It pretty much you can think about as a custom object. It has a bunch of fields on this. The most important field for me is maximum discount. And the difference you'll see, here's a manage discount policies, which will take me to the list of the records for that particular object. And I created a policy called default. And I set up a discount here to 20%. So now I'm going to update that validation rule. And just to prove you that it's still the same. So I updated the validation rule, as you remember, to like hard-coded value. So it's still showing me that validation error. And now I'm going to change the reference on that validation rule to a custom metadata type. So going back to validation rules, maximum discount, going to edit that. So I'm going to remove that hard-coded value. And I'm going to instead insert a field. So you can see here the custom metadata. Here's my custom metadata types that I created. Here's a specific record I want to reference. And here's the field that I care about, maximum discount. So let's insert that. It looks pretty big and complex, but you can do all of it by just clicking next, next, next. So it's completely clicks, no-code solution for you. Let's save that and try to, let me refresh this page so we're all on the same page here. So now if I try to update it, what we're going to see, nothing changes. And that's what we want to see. So we just migrated our validation rule to use custom metadata types. This is pretty awesome and easy. And everyone can handle it. And everyone would definitely benefit from doing so. And I'm waiting for my load. So a little bit about roadmap. And this is where forward-looking statement applies a lot. We're right now in pilot. So in Spring 18, you can request this feature to be enabled in your sandbox and dev environment if you want to play around and take a taste of it. In Summer 18, we're planning to go GA, meaning that everyone will be able to use it in validation rules. We are targeting formulas and default values, so you'll be able to do the same exercise with your formula fields and default values in Winter 19, so pretty much a Dreamforce release. And we're going to work on Process Builder after. And I put Spring 19. It might take more than a release, but maybe we'll be able to deliver a pilot or a beta or something at least for you. So I would like to invite everyone to check out custom metadata type Trailhead module. It's developer-oriented, but there's still a lot of useful information. And even you don't know how to code, you can still just scroll through it and see if anything catches your eye. Join our Trailblazer community. We have one for custom metadata type specifically. I would love to see more admins there. I would love to see more feedback from admins. Follow us on Twitter. I'm sure Cheryl and I would appreciate a couple of new followers. And stay tuned for new custom metadata types for admin module. We're working on that. And that will be specifically dedicated for you guys, where we'll talk about all different examples that you can apply in your org today without any previous coding experience. And with that, I actually want to open for Q&A. We have a few minutes left. And also, if you will not have time to ask all your questions, I'll stick around for a bit. OK, I think we need to do that.
Quick question. So this sounds great and interesting, but what are the limits we have on custom metadata types? Like how many objects we can create? Like
So right now, the limits are you can have up to 100 custom metadata types in your org, both created by yourself or installed through the packages. And there are some limits on how many records you can have, but they are pretty high. So a regular org, we have a nice viz that's still OK with those limits. So it should be pretty cool for regular org to live with that.
Sure. Is it a soft limit or?
This is right now it's a hard limit. We have again, forward-looking statement. We have a plans on adjusting those limits.
Sure.
And right now it's just a hard limit.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't know if there are more people with questions. Sorry, I should have.
Can you use the custom metadata value within the label of the validation rule or the error message of the validation rule?
So unfortunately, error message in validation rule is not actually a formula.
Not dynamic.
It's hard-coded. I think it would be great to be able to do
example,
that.
you
Yeah,
stated
yeah, I have it
20%.
hard-coded. I encourage you to find a validation rule team and talk to them. I'm definitely going to talk to them based on my experience with validation rules. But that's something that unfortunately is not under my control right now. But I think there's even an idea on Idea Exchange. Please go and vote for this.
And as for the validation rule that you talk, where there's the sales guy asks for a bunch of different rules and values, you still need to do that crazy if in there, right?
Yes, there still will be a crazy if, except all the values for that if
No
would be
values are
stored
coded, but
somewhere.
the if needs to be replicated in the
Yeah,
validation rules.
yeah. So at least you don't need to remember all of those different cases. You just need to remember policy names.
Thank you.
And thank you.
So yeah, I love that you can do custom metadata and change sets and packages. The only thing I've found so far to be able to mass create it in the first place is there's that package on GitHub plus deploy with Workbench. Is there any way to get a better, or is there anything on the roadmap for a better tool to mass create custom metadata records?
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with a metadata loader. This is open source on a GitHub.
Yeah, that's kind of clunky.
Yeah,
I feel like it doesn't have that Salesforce polish to it.
Yeah, we do not have this currently on our roadmap, I would be honest with you. I've been hearing it a lot, and I think once we start seeing more admins join the party, I think that request would definitely get prioritized as more people would be caring more about, massively inserting those things into their org rather than relying on packages to bring them.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for your feedback. It's really valuable.
Is the encrypted fields something on the roadmap? Because a lot of times I want to use custom settings, and I may want to store passwords and things in there.
So encrypted fields are currently not supported, but custom metadata types give you a way better capabilities around protection.
Yeah.
You can protect down to specific records.
Okay.
So rather than protecting the whole custom settings and make it invisible in your subscriber org, you can protect specific records, and you can control what fields you can leave as a subscriber editable and which one you want to leave as a developer controlled. Okay. So that might be like it's not exactly encryption, let's be honest, but that's something.
Hello. Is this going to be available as a global object in Lightning components? So the context of this question is, so unless we don't do a DML, all these validation messages, they don't throw up. But in case if we want to just validate it on the client side, is this going to be available like a custom object which we can, a global object like labels?
Not sure. How about we'll follow up because we're sort of running out of time, but I'm happy to stick around here. I need to pass my microphone to the next person, but I'll be right here to talk with you guys just in a second. And thank you very much.